Tonight on KGW News, would you give up your kicker rebate to put more money in schools?
It's a tough sell, even if you're a popular politician.
We'll tell you who is now pushing for the change. And better grab your rain gear when storm season is moving in for the long haul. Plus, the area's main ambulance provider defends its long response times on the record.
This system is in crisis, and it's getting worse.
The requirement, they say, that's making residents less safe. And later, the holiday tradition bringing a twinkle to the eyes of a whole new generation. Good evening, everyone. We begin tonight with a murder in a typically quiet stretch of Yamhill County. Thanks for joining us. I'm David Molko. Investigators say a 16-year-old was shot to death, and the suspect is also a teenager. Catherine Cook takes a look at the search for answers.
Spray paint marks the spot on Northwest Russell Creek Road where police say a 16-year-old boy was shot and killed Monday afternoon. The remote dead-end stretch sits just off Highway 47 in Yamhill County. Investigators say the victim lived in Polk County. On Monday, police arrested a suspect, 19-year-old Brendan Waco, at a home in Cornelius.
And even though we made an arrest today, there's still a lot of work to be done.
Yamhill County Sheriff's Captain Sam Elliott said it's unclear if the teens knew each other and what brought them to Russell Creek Road. He said there will likely be more arrests in this case. They're also working to uncover a motive.
We don't have any evidence to indicate that this was drug-related. We also can't exclude it just because we're so early on in the investigation.
Investigators are looking for the public's help. Specifically, they're interested in folks who live off Highway 47 between Gaston and Yamhill. That's about an 8-mile stretch. They'd like to review security footage from cameras facing the highway. They say it might contain evidence. A Forest Grove police officer spotted a vehicle of interest in Cornelius, which led them to the suspect. Later, deputies used a search warrant to recover a gun. Lab tests will show if it's the murder weapon.
It's always a tragedy, but to see individuals of this age that, their lives and their families' lives are going to be impacted forever from an incident of this nature.
In Yamhill County, Catherine Cook, KGW News.
To get you caught up on tonight's other headlines now, former Secretary of State Henry Kissinger has died. Kissinger served in that role under Presidents Nixon and Ford. He is credited with breaking barriers with China and won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1973 for negotiating peace in Vietnam. He was also widely criticized for setting aside human rights when it served American interests to do so. Kissinger was 100 years old. Kaiser police have arrested a man following a day-long standoff in Salem. Police say the suspect, Steve Martinez, is accused of assaulting his girlfriend this morning. They later tracked him to his home in Salem on Cherry Avenue Northeast. Authorities say Martinez barricaded himself inside with several people, including juveniles. Police, with the help of tactical officers, arrested him just before 6 this evening. And Portland police say they caught a serial robber in the act. The suspect hit a convenience store on North Greeley Avenue back on November 17th. An officer worried the same man might strike again set up a stakeout at a nearby store. Sure enough, they say the man came in about an hour later armed with a gun. Police took 24-year-old Kilmargie Trent Grant into custody. Today he was arraigned on even more charges, as detectives say they've linked him to several other open cases. They're also now looking for additional victims. Well, goodbye sunshine. Hello stormy season. Let's give you a live look outside this Wednesday, where it is now 38 degrees over the Rose City. Chief Meteorologist Matt Zafino tracking how soon the rain and for some the snow are moving in, Matt.
Yeah, it's a big change because we're coming off a week of dry weather, really dry weather, lots of sunshine. And as I show you this imagery, wherever you see the white and the green, that's where the atmosphere is really loaded with moisture. And a lot of it is aimed right at the northwest, or will be as we go through the next couple of days. There's two jet streams, polar branch, then a subtropical branch, and they're eventually going to merge and bring us a ton of rain and mountain snow. Yes, so let's talk atmospheric rivers. We've got a couple of them headed our way. We get a little one coming in Friday, but a stronger one coming in Saturday night and Sunday, aimed right at the northwest. That's when the snow levels really jump up. Before that, we're going to get some really good mountain snowfall. We'll talk more about that a bit later. Some of the northwest ski areas like Mount Bachelor planning on opening this weekend. Then there's another atmospheric river Monday into Tuesday. Look at the connection all the way down to Hawaii. So again, a lot of moisture, but it will be on the warm side of things before that one weakens and moves on down to the south. So look at these rainfall totals over the next week. By Saturday morning, already over an inch forecast for Portland, several inches in the Coast Range. And as we roll through the weekend, when we really get hit by those atmospheric rivers and into next week, 6, 7, 8 inches in the valleys, possible, probably not that much for the valleys, but 10, 12 inches of rain, coast and coast rain. So again, a lot of water covered in the northwest. So the rain begins tomorrow. Heavy Cascade snow begins tomorrow and continues into Saturday. That'll be followed by heavy rain. We'll talk more about that later. David, back to you.
Everybody gets rain. Thank you, Matt. New at 11, an update on police body cameras in the Rose City, with Portland City Council now signing off on the next steps. Alma McCarty's in the newsroom with the update. Alma.
Well, David, commissioners called it an essential step, voting unanimously today to spend up to $2.6 million for a permanent program to outfit most of the officers in the Bureau. It's taken quite a while to get to this point. The Bureau recently wrapped up a 2-month pilot program with about 150 officers testing the technology. And according to that report presented today, that pilot went well. They hope to have the cameras rolled out to most officers by next summer. Portland police say the nearly 300 patrol officers will wear the cameras every day, while an additional 500 sworn members, from detectives to sergeants, will wear them when interacting with the public. Up until now, the city of Portland had the largest municipal police department in the country without body cameras.
It's long overdue. It is imperative in addressing police accountability. It is imperative in mitigating our risk of sometimes unfounded claims made against Portland police.
I also want to just caution the public. It's going to take some time for us to phase in the rollout of body cameras and make sure that everybody has sufficient training and sufficient understanding of how these tools will work.
The city and the police union compromised on the body-worn camera agreement back in April. Under that agreement, officers will be able to review footage before writing a report, but only for minor cases. With more serious events like use of force incidents, officers must give an interview prior to watching the video back. A PPB spokesperson tells me they are still modifying the permanent policy, but as for the pilot policy, officers needed to turn on the cameras for every service call. Cameras automatically turn on when an officer pulls a gun or a taser, or lights on the vehicle turn on. David?
Yeah, bottom line, it's still going to take a little bit of time to figure out here. Thank you, Alma. Let us talk about schools now. And now that a deal has been worked out between Portland teachers and the district, school leaders are looking for the money to make it work. No surprise here, they are calling on the state to provide more funding. Though this seems to be new, one option that's being proposed would take money away from the state kicker fund. The kicker, of course, that state program that refunds tax payments to Oregonians when tax revenues exceed projections. PBS board member Andrew Scott calling on lawmakers to re-examine the kicker, saying the money could be better used on schools. But experts told us a change in the fund is unlikely because it would require a change to the Oregon Constitution.
Historically, people have looked at the kicker and they've tended to say for the past, more than 40 years, we think it's a good thing.
Governor Tina Kotek says, yes, something needs to change. She has asked the state's chief financial officer and the Department of Education to weigh in on funding. Meanwhile, in Portland, the district says it will need to make major cuts to meet the terms of the teacher contract deal. We'll keep you posted. To an ongoing KGW investigation and a chance for Multnomah County's beleaguered ambulance provider to defend themselves after they were hit with $500,000 in fines because of slow response times. Investigative reporter Evan Watson talked with a top executive to ask about a crisis the company says that's on its way to catastrophe.
For more than a year, throughout my coverage of slow ambulance response times in Multnomah County, AMR has decided to stay, relatively quiet. The company provided short emailed statements saying they're working with the county on solutions. Not anymore. I met with AMR leaders who offered their most critical indictment of the current system yet, saying it's a crisis that's going to become a catastrophe. AMR blames Multnomah County's requirement that there should be 2 paramedics on every ambulance. There's currently a shortage of paramedics, and AMR says it can't staff about 40% of its total ambulance fleet. That's created a system of long wait times in response to emergency calls. Multnomah County EMS leaders say 2 paramedics are needed to provide better care, something AMR disagrees with. The company says if the county refuses to budge, it will harm the people who call 911 and have to wait in their most critical moments.
I think we need to be totally honest with the public, totally transparent every step of the way. And the fact is that with the system in crisis the way it is, and it going from crisis to catastrophe pretty quickly, it is going to impact them. They're going to call 911 and expect an ambulance in 8 minutes, and it's not going to get there for a long time after that, while they're with their loved one or whomever who is in dire straits. We don't want that.
AMR wants the county to switch to a model of 1 paramedic and 1 EMT per ambulance, which would let them spread out their current paramedic staff and get more ambulances in operation. AMR adds that's how surrounding counties like Clackamas and Clark and Washington operate. While that may be true, those counties still report issues with AMR response times. I questioned AMR about the desire to switch systems and asked if the push for adding EMTs is just a cost-saving measure. You can watch my full report now, including extended question and answer sections in the story section of KGW.com and on the KGW YouTube page.
And our thanks to Evan for his intrepid reporting on that issue.